Salutations, hello, hi, and welcome to Basic Public Speaking. I'm Christy Thomas. I'm the professor and instructor for this course. And this is just a video chat breakdown of the remaining assignments, speeches that are due for our course for fall of 2025. So I'm going to give the dates, and then I'm going to give some little quick little snippets about it. Because all assignments and speeches have their own modules. All are open. All the details are in their video chats and Word documents with all this information. I just like to put information out there numerous times, so that's why I'm doing it again. With that being said, let's chat about it. First one coming up on Friday, October the 31st, happy Halloween, is the second storytelling speech. The second storytelling speech, and you remember, storytelling speeches, the only thing to do is the video of yourself delivering the speech. Nothing else. No time, no nothing. Ba-boom. The second storytelling speech topic is Halloween fall. So you're just to tell me what it is you like or enjoy about fall or Halloween. It could be the activities that you go to. It could be movies or television shows that really peak. This is their time to shine during spooky season, so to speak, or the fall season. You could talk about that. You could talk about the history of Halloween. You could talk about the history of activities that happen in the fall, like carving pumpkins or why we give out candy. You could talk about a favorite costume from a Halloween past. You could talk about, ghost stories. Perhaps you're a believer and you have some experiences. You can talk about that. Or you could talk about famous, like, ghost stories. Think of, like, Bloody Mary, stuff like that. You could chat about your favorite, I already said this, film, television series, movie, director, film, movie, same thing. I just reiterated it. You can talk about all those things. You could talk about things that happen in the fall, like, football season is upon us. Perhaps that's a great thing about fall and you really like it. You could talk about your favorite foods that happen, apples are in abundance. Maybe you like to go apple picking or make an apple dessert. I don't know. Bob for apples. All kinds of festivals happen in this season. Fall festivals and pumpkin patches are open and apple orchards are, all these things happen. So, or perhaps you like going to places like a lot of amusement parks do Halloween horror nights. Disney does Not So Scary, Mickey's Party. Universal Studios has a thing. So maybe you go to these things and you talk about it. You can also talk about, like I said, a favorite costume from past or tradition that you do in the fall or Halloween. Sky's the limit. Have fun. That's due again on Friday, October 31st by 5 p.m. Boom. The next one we're going to talk about is the main speech 3, which is aptly named Tell Me a Story. That's due on November the 14th by 5 p.m. So many options. So many options. So you can read a book and think of young kids, ages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up through like 3rd grade when you have the smaller books. Think of like Dr. Seuss or nursery rhymes, stuff like that. You can choose to read a book. But if that's your choice, you need to change your delivery. Think of how you would deliver this book to a young child to keep them captivated and entertained. So it could be changing your voices, using nonverbals, which is like body and facial expressions. Get into it. Have fun. With the technical requirements before I get into this anymore is, as always, a video of yourself delivering the speech is for every one of these speeches. So that you have an outline due. It is a main speech. That's going to be due for this speech and the final speech, just like it was speech due. And you have to have one quote in the speech itself, one in-speech citation, one oral citation, and because of that, you need a works cited. If you choose to read a book, the works cited is just the book itself. You're giving me the information, and you can put that works cited at the bottom of your outline. Let's move forward. The Tell Me a Story main speech 3 is we're taking informative speaking, celebratory speaking, and the subgenre of storytelling, and we're marrying it, mushing it, cooking it together. Whatever you want to use here for an analogy. We're combining all these into one. So I say that because moving forward, other options. It's a choose your own adventure situation. You can give me a commencement speech. You can do a tribute memorial speech. It could be someone close in your life or someone that you admire or someone throughout history or someone famous or whatever the case may be here. Tribute memorial. In memory speech. Memorial speech? Yeah. You can tell me a story. It could be an old wives' tale, a conspiracy theory, a murder mystery, a true crime. Go forth here. And my greatest example for that is Bailey Sarian has this Murder Makeup Monday where she does these. She's putting on makeup and she's talking about a true crime case. So you could tell me about a true crime case that fascinates you or you find interesting, or maybe it's an unsolved case, you know, and maybe you have your own ideas. I don't know. Maybe you're an amateur sleuth and I have no idea. You can choose to go that route. You can choose to give me a review on a book, a movie, a television series, a video game, a graphic novel, a product, a restaurant, a location. You can give me a review, and because it's a review, interject yourself into it. Again, we are doing the storytelling vibes here. You can also talk to me about perhaps there's a civilization that or culture that really interests you and you want me to and want to tell me about it, or a musician, or perhaps you're a history buff and you really like certain battles. You can tell me about that. You can tell me about anything that you want to. Just tell me a story. But I want you to understand any of these past the reading a book, you have to have a in-speech citation, an oral citation. So it can be a blurb or a statistic, anything that goes along with the topic. So say you're doing a tribute speech to Ozzy Osbourne, who passed away recently. You could give a blurb either from him, something that he has said. Perhaps you start the speech off with, a song lyric. That's a quote. Or something that he has said. He had a television show. He's been in films. He was a figure for decades. So there's a lot of gems out there that you can pluck from. Or those close to him, people that worked with him, his family. Whatever the case, it's a statistic, it's a blurb, it's a quote, it's a little interesting fact to add to it. As long as it goes with your topic. You see what I'm saying here? And just give credit where credit is due. So there are apps and there are sites that you can plug and chug your information that generates a quote for you. I have no problem with you using these tools readily available to you. Makes it easier for you, and I am all about that. So copy and paste, plug it and chug onto your outline. And remember, outlines, you can create your own, or I have created one for you in the organization outlining module. All you have to do is you can download it and then plug and chug your information. It doesn't have to be detailed. I will never ask for a transcript, which is a word for word verbatim what you're saying. Don't need that. You don't even have to put everything that's on the outline on it for your speeches. I want your topic. It's pretty straightforward. Intro. Don't have to give me the whole intro, just a little blurb. Give me your points and a conclusion. Again, I don't need all the conclusions, just a little blurb. And then we're excited. So let's tell me a story. Details are in that module. Again, and then there'll be a link to upload your video and a link for the outline as well in that module. So let's move forward. So we've talked about storytelling and main speech 3. There is your final storytelling, and that's due no later than Tuesday, November 25th. That is a holiday week. That's why it's a little off, and I just give a little extra time to get it done. So the final storytelling speech is state your case. Again, storytelling speeches, I just want a video. That's all I want. That's all I want. State your case. But what case am I stating? I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you. Because the holidays are approaching us, usually there are, you get together with folks. It could be small, could be large, could be many. Organizations, family, friends, whatever the case may be here. For a sit-down dinner, you are to state your case. I want to know the very best side and dessert to have at a holiday meal. I don't need your main dishes. Nay. I don't want to hear about your ham. I don't want to hear about tofu. I don't want to hear about turkey or whatever else is the main dish. I want the sides and I want the desserts. So if mashed potatoes, rolls, and a pumpkin pie is the way to go, you tell me why. It could be just because it's delicious, Or you could tell me, this is the only time of year I get it. Or, Aunt Susie makes the best pasta salad and she brings it to our holiday meals. Great, grand, wonderful. Or the whole family gets together and we make cookies and we do cookie swap. I just want to hear. I want you to state your case. The very best side and dessert for the holiday season. There's certain desserts that I make. I make them all year, but I make them at holiday season too. But there's some certain things that, I always make for like meals for holidays. So, to me, I make homemade macaroni and cheese. I would discuss homemade macaroni and cheese. Why, the comfort and stuff. And I am a pumpkin girly. I love pumpkin stuff. So there's always generally something pumpkin, holiday-wise, in my home. Pie, roll, whatevs. Get creative. But this final storytelling that's due by 5 o'clock, Tuesday, November 25th, this is a holiday week, is just state your case. Tell me what's the best dessert and side dish. And if you got a couple that you're torn between, like if you really like, I don't know, green beans and rolls, tell me about green beans and rolls, and then tell me if you like it doesn't have to be just one. Give me your top. But I don't want to know about the main dish. Nay. So that is due. And that's your final storytelling. You're just pleading your case on the best. Friday, December 5th, by 5 o'clock, is the Cannon's Rhetoric Round 2 questionnaire. The exact same questionnaire you answered in Round 1, only this time we're applying what we've taken from this course. And this is an engagement questionnaire for me. It lets me know what's working, what's not working, what maybe needs better explanation, what I need to pull back on, or what do I need to introduce that's going to make it click or work better for my students. Because I want to make things as easy as possible and understandable. That didn't sound right in my head, but I'm going to go with it. Then finally, the final speech. This is due on Wednesday, December 10th, which is ACTC's final week. And the weeks 2, 3, really the majority of November and what we have left for this course is set aside for work weeks to use for all of these things due. So with that being said, on December 10th, which is a Wednesday by noon, your final speech is due. I also want to add, before I go into detail about this, I will accept no work past noon on Wednesday, December 10th. So if you are behind and stuff or missing things, that's why everything's open now. And will remain open throughout this course. That's going to give you time to work. And please reach out to me if you are having issues or struggling or just confused. And see if I want to make things as easy to understand as possible and clarify things. So please, feel free to reach out to me. Anyway, let's talk about this final speech. This is a persuasive speech. Remember, we talked about persuasive. You're wanting your audience to start or stop an action. You want to change a belief, an attitude, or a value. You basically want your audience to go along with what you're saying. So you can be super formal and do a politically charged, we need to change this law needs to happen, Or you don't have to be super formal, because not all persuasive speaking is super formal or judicial. It's informal. Perhaps you want to tell me why Michael Keaton is the very best Batman. There have been a lot of Batman. Anyway, there's been a few. You can tell me who the best was. Or you can tell me why a movie is better than a book. Or if you're the other way around, tell me why the book is better than the movie. Or why this particular movie in a franchise or series is the best. There are lots of franchises out there. There are a lot of series. You can tell me why Harry Potter and, The Deathly Hallows Part 1 is the best of all of them. Or why the new Percy Jackson series on Disney is better than the Percy Jackson film. And how it compares. You're telling me why. Why? But back it up. So, technical requirements for this persuasive speech. Outline. We knew that was coming. A video of yourself delivering the speech. As always, I want to see your faces. And then this one's going to require 2 in-speech citations, quotes, oral citations. And because of that, a works cited is due at the end of that outline. And we already discussed with Tell Me a Story. I am not opposed to you using tools readily available to you. And that, if that means apps, websites, and I guess AI at this point, to help you generate these citations. Oh my gosh, words are hard and they just left me. I'm not opposed to you using these things. All right, but moving forward. So also, when it comes to the quotes or the oral citations, remember, these can be blurbs or quotes or statistics or just little info that's not your original idea. I am not opposed to them coming from the same source, as long as it's not like the same breath that someone. So if you're citing, thank you. Citing someone, it's not like the same paragraph or the same monologue or the same, there's a break there. And it's, perhaps you're getting your information from a book or a website. And again, triple, quadruple check your sources. As long as it's not the same snippet. But they can come from the same source. They just have to be different locations, if that's making sense. And if you need to clarify that, I'd love to do that, because Lord knows I probably didn't clarify it very well. And that, again, is your final persuasive speech. So do with it an outline, a works cited, because there are 2 in-speech oral citations. And for that, there is a works cited due as well. That is due Wednesday, December the 10th by noon. Again, nothing will be accepted past noon, Wednesday, December 10th. So let's just recap what's due. Friday, October 31st, end of week 11, is your Halloween fall storytelling speech. Just a video is due. That's it. At the end of week 13, on November 14th by 5 p.m., your main speech 3, Tell Me a Story, which is an amalgamation of informative, celebratory, and the subgenre of storytelling into one. That is due, again, by 5 o'clock on November 14th. Due with it is a video. Go figure. An outline, a works cited, because you have 1 in-speech citation, oral citation due with that as well. And if you are choosing to read a book in that option, because there are many options of choose your own adventure on that one. If you choose to read a book, your citation is the book itself. Put the author, the publisher, the name of the work itself, And if you got the book information out of a large book of collection of stories, just make sure you put the title of the collection of stories and then the subtitle of the story that you're actually reading, because a lot of times fairy tales and stuff like that, they're in large books with others as well. Anywho, that's due. Your final storytelling speech is due no later than Tuesday, November 25th. That's a holiday week, by 5 o'clock, and due with it is just the video delivering your speech. End of week 16. This is December 5th by 5 p.m. Your Canon's Rhetoric Questionnaire Round 2, which is the exact same questions that you answered in Round 1. We're just applying what we have taken away from this course for me to kind of figure out where we're going. And then finally, the final speech is due during finals week for ACTC, and that will be Wednesday, December 10th, noon. I know, it was really over-exaggerated. That is due. And due with that is the video of yourself delivering the speech, an outline, 2 in-speech citations, which means that you are required to have a works cited. That works cited may be 1 or 2 entries, depending where you get your citations from. Okay, there it is, wrapped up. And again, as always, every one of these speeches has its own module, so please be checking that out, because that's where you got to turn the stuff in. Any questions, concerns, or anything else, please reach out to me. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Have fun with these speeches, and it's going to go by quick. Thanks so much. Bye.